On that question, as I think about not just my journey, but that of other Latinos, we spend an enormous amount of time validating our success because we're having to start over. And so we invest a lot of time and energy in making sure we do better. And that starts with stability and it starts with income. And so you focus a great deal on earning better. And that becomes one of your primary goals. And then if you can move beyond that, you think about purchasing a home. My mother was never able to buy a home. The first thing I did, Pedro, when I got my first job in real estate sales was save money that first year to buy a home. It became incredibly important because when we think about stability, not having to move, and I moved around a lot as a kid, I wanted to give that security and safety net to my mother. And so I think for many Latinos, real estate provides greater stability. And so income, real estate are some of those primary goals. What I would say the opportunity is, how do we move beyond that into wealth accumulation?
Right.
How do we start to save? How do we start to invest? How do we use a budget as a mechanism to help us go beyond the day-to-day, go beyond just taking care of our families year over year? And so that you have to be very intentional in terms of doing that, and it can be done. Because many of us do not inherit, you don't inherit wealth from the prior generation. So you're really starting over. This whole thing of resetting and starting anew comes into play in terms of the financial journey. Where the magic happens is when you move beyond, that financial stability and beyond that wealth accumulation into the financial independence phase, which is where you've planned for your retirement, where you've been able to pay for your kids' college education, where you can start to think about legacy, which is what are the causes that you care for? How do you want to use that wealth to leave it to the next generation? Because then they can jumpstart their efforts and do so much more.